Hi, today we are about to discuss chapter 3 in the English textbook. The chapter 3 is a lesson. The title of the story is Sayonara. Sayonara, an extract from the novel North to the Orient, written by Lindbergh. She is the author of the story. The author of this story, Lindbergh, was a pilot. Yes, she was a pilot come author. Not only is she a pilot, but also her husband. He is also a pilot. Charles Lindbergh, a pilot, the first person to fly alone. He was the first person to fly alone across the Atlantic, which is from New York to Paris. Yes, he was the first person to fly in a single plane alone from New York to Paris. This novel, North to the Orient, tells about their journey to the Far East in 1931. Yes, they have planned to make a trip to the Far East. In the Far East, we have China, and in the West, we have USA. Yes, their plan was to go China from the USA, and they successfully reached it. But their flight got damaged in China, and they couldn't repair it. So they had no choice but to reach their hometown in the USA, that is in the USA, by shipways. This particular chapter, Sayonara, in the novel tells us about the journey from Shanghai to the USA. A journey from Shanghai to the USA. And they have titled this lesson as Sayonara. Actually, Sayonara is a Japanese word, and that literally means goodbye. Yes, it means goodbye. What is the author trying to tell us from this particular title? Let us get it from the journey, from Sayonara. The first scene is on the harbor in Shanghai, China, as it was said in China. After their plane got damaged, they decided to go by ship. There is no direct ship from China to the USA. They have to go to Japan first. They are inside the ship. The author was inside the state's room. It's the captain's room. Yes, she was in the captain's room, ship's captain's room, and she heard a loud cry from outside. It was the Japanese people on the ship who were going to Japan. They shouted, "Sayonara, Sayonara," and they are waving goodbyes to their closest ones in China, to their relatives and friends. They are shouting their last words to them from the edge of the boat. The author could not understand anything but the one word. She understood the only one word, Sayonara. She understood from their reactions, from their expressions, that they are waving goodbyes to their friends and relatives. The ship left China and reached South Japan. And from South Japan, they had to go to Yokohama, which is a city in Japan. And from there, they had to board a ship to the USA. They booked a train to go Yokohama. In the station, in the railway station, they heard this word, Sayonara. One more time. She heard the sound of wooden clogs. The author heard the sound of wooden clogs everywhere. What are those clogs? A clog is nothing but a wooden slipper. We call it as a slipper. Yes, a wooden slipper they have used in Japan. And people in Japan use wooden slippers. So she heard that clattering sound, the walking sound, the movement of their walking. It made the clattering sound everywhere. There, women dressed up in kimonos. In Japan, women dressed up in kimonos, a traditional outfit of Japan, having their babies on the back. They do have their babies on their back, and on the back they were just jogging. The babies were jogging, and they walked on the platforms. The women walked on the platforms. Men carrying 4 or 5 bundles tied up in different colored furoshiki. What's that? Furoshiki. Furoshiki is nothing but wrapping clothes. They use some clothes to wrap the puzzles. Wrapping clothes that are made of silk, which they use to wrap the puzzles. Old women were knocking the floor and walking. They are using the sticks and knocking the floor and walking with their walking sticks. Having a big hat. They had the big hat that made of straw that had hid their face completely. One specific man in that station was selling some things. He was selling his wares. The train moved from South Japan. They were thirsty. The author and her husband were thirsty and they wanted to have something to drink. In one of the stations, they leaned their heads out of the train window and called out a vendor for some tea. In Japan, tea vendors, they have their big tin and a clay teapot. Yes, they use clay teapot. The vendor poured the tea from the big tin to the clay teapot. That teapot had a saucer for the lid. For the lid, it had the saucer. And an inverted cup on top of that. Inverted cup on top of that saucer. Just like the image you are seeing on the screen. They asked for 2 cups of tea, and before they got their cups of tea, the train started moving. The tea vendor, he ran to them to give the 2 cups of tea. And even there, at that time, inside the train as well as outside the train, they had that same word, Sayonara. Sayonara all over the place. A Japanese family next to them, a Japanese family who were sitting next to the author, and they leaned out of the window. They leaned out of the moving train's window to say a few last words. Then they occupied 2 long seats inside the train. They occupied both the seats. You know what? The family had a mother and a nurse. They both were dressed in kimonos. The Japanese people usually appoint nurses to take care of their babies. The father in the family was in a Western business suit, and they had 2 little girls and a baby. And that particular nurse is to take care of this baby. 2 little girls, they were wearing green chalet suits. You can see it on the screen, green chalet suits with iris collar, and the little baby was in woolens. The 2 little girls, they sat on the seats. It was blue seat. They sat on the seat in a traditional Japanese style, and they waved goodbye to the family. They said, yes, Sayonara. What does that word mean? What does Sayonara mean? The author was really curious and serious to know what the word Sayonara means. With a loud noise, the train started moving from that station to Yokohama. What happened next? Why were the people of Japan use Sayonara to say goodbye? Why didn't they use any other words to say goodbye? Is there any cultural importance in that word? Let us check that in next part of the class. That's all for the today's class. Thank you for watching this video. Have a happy day ahead. See you soon in the next video.